having Mark Alexander from Canada presenting New Wave Group Distribution. So please, Mark, you can start.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Very strange. I'm looking straight into my laptop. I don't see anybody, but I hope everybody's having a great day and good afternoon from Canada. I was listening to the presentation before me, and it was interesting because I heard at the end them talking about the last time that there would have been a win. I don't know if it was for Denmark in football. Just for the record, for any hockey fans out there, it was 1967 the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup, and that's a big deal for us. It has nothing to do with my presentation. However, I know there might be some stakeholders in there, William Nylander fans, who might feel my grief on this end. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for having me today. As mentioned, my name is Mark Alexander. I am the CEO of New Wave Group Canadian Distribution Inc., a long name. We are the Canadian suppliers of the Click brand and Cutter and Buck. I assumed the position of CEO in September of 2023, so it's been a short tenure for me as CEO. However, I started with New Wave in May of 2017, and that's when the distribution center that I'm standing in right now was nothing more than a dirt floor. And that's where my personal journey begins. And I really think it's really where the journey of New Wave Group in Canada took off. Next slide, please. So hopefully everybody out there can see the skyline of Toronto, a very famous skyline with the CN Tower in the background, in our dome where baseball is played. I've lived in Toronto all of my life, and it is a fantastic city. And quite frankly, there is no better place to have a distribution center to service Canada than the Greater Toronto area. Our building is 10 minutes from Toronto's main airport, which is a positive on so many accounts. Again, we introduced Cutter and Buck and Click really in the Canadian market back in 2015, 2014, and Cutter and Buck had been around in Canada for some time. However, it wasn't really until we opened up the distribution center where the business just exploded. And when we did, we knew that there was one thing to do with the distribution center, and that was fill it with product. Next slide, please. So, as mentioned, we opened up the distribution center in 2017. It was designed and heavily influenced by the state-of-the-art distribution centers found in Europe. Constructed with very narrow aisles, with racking that reached up to 30 feet in the air. Really something that is a new approach to warehousing and distribution centers in Canada. We operate Young Heinrichs order picking machines that are wire guided and GPS navigated. A total system that was new to Canada. In fact, our system was the first of its kind in our province of Ontario and only the second system run in Canada at that time. So it really was and is state-of-the-art. As mentioned, the location of Toronto or around the Toronto area is extremely critical to our business. One of the reasons that it allows us to service our customers in a way that not all suppliers can do. We are able to take orders up until 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, our time, and have the orders picked up for, in the same day to be delivered next day in most cases. That's something we came out with right out of the gates and really put us on the map for success. We live in a 50-kilometer radius of hundreds of corporate distributors and other channel buyers in the area. So not only are we a distribution center that ships product, but we also have a ton of customers who come in on a daily basis to pick up their product from our distribution center. The most important decision the company made, as I alluded to before, was the investment in inventory. Prior to joining New Wave Group, had much experience with the corporate market and understood that the critical success of the business really depends on inventory, specifically in the promotional products industry. And stock the shelves we did. Over 800,000 units of inventory were in our shelves the first year. And to put that in perspective, currently right now we have about 1.8 million units in our distribution center, more than double than what we had. But to come out and open the doors with that type of inventory really, really put us on the map for customers. As we know, specifically for corporate promotional companies, if we don't have 5,000 units of what they're looking for, they'll go somewhere else, and they'll go quickly. Our growth trajectory has been extremely solid, and while we're in a bit of an economic downturn right now, we will continue to grow. And I just wanted to reflect on some of those numbers that you see there, those fantastic growth figures. And we had one mark there with the pandemic that we were affected and rebounded quite nicely. And we are still growing at a rapid rate today. Next slide, please. So our vision and our mission is something that we take very seriously. Anytime we are working with new suppliers or hire new staff, this is a document that we put in front of them. We are doing our best to continually improve the North American sportswear experience. And our mission is to delightfully serve our customers with high-quality products. Seems real easy, but as we know, it's not always that easy. Culture is a huge reason why we are so successful. And our idea of continuous improvement in everything that we do and finding efficiencies in everything we do is a culture that has resonated here in our distribution center in Canada. And because of that, our people are the most important investments. We've got fantastic systems and machinery that really allow us to do what we do, but the people that are employed with us here are the real investments, and they're the people that really deliver the products to our customers. Like many others, our future, we believe in sustainable growth, and that is a statement that we work with daily. We have established a company motto around it, not only here, but also in the U.S., and that is toward ever better. Next slide, please. So as you can see with toward ever better, here at New Wave Group, Canadian Distribution Inc., and also at Cutter & Buck Inc. in the U.S., we have a common goal of producing 90% sustainable products by 2025, which is right upon us. And we are right on schedule to produce that. We are committed to sustainability, and we create long-lasting products through sustainable production practices. And we focus our sustainability objectives in the three areas that you see on screen: sustainable products, sustainable operations, and sustainable production. Next, please. Our year-to-date sales see us utilizing more than 600 million post-consumer recycled plastic bottles. We know how important that is right now to be in that mix with recycled, sustainable product. It's also been more than 5 years of zero air freight, and that's inbound freight coming to North America, and we're only relying on sea versus air freight, which we know produces the carbon emissions that we're trying to avoid. Not only that, our marketing and sales materials are all designed to be fully digital, resulting in zero printed materials since 2019. And certainly in our industry, there are many people who need printed catalogs. We give them the files to print on their own. We really, really take a big stance on this because we know how important it is to be diligent and to stick with something that we truly believe in. Next slide, please. So how do we do what we do? You'll see on screen here, this is an image and a very simple image of our flywheel strategy. We employ our market-winning product series strategy to achieve consistently high margins from Cutter & Buck and Click. In other words, high-volume products that will sell, not just in corporate, not just in team, but across all of our channels of business. We're not just creating products for specific channels. We have a multi-step process coordinated with New Wave Group sourcing to achieve a 98% inventory service level objective. So you can see there the cog on that wheel. Inventory service level is extremely important. And as I mentioned before, if we don't have it, they'll go somewhere else. And the beauty of our service model here in Canada is, again, if we don't have the product for some reason in this distribution center, we are able to bring product across border from our distribution centers in the U.S. So there is a rarely an opportunity for our customers to go somewhere else because we'll be able to fill their orders with one of our distribution centers. The Cutter & Buck platform is the combination of these long-lasting products with our capability to decorate in our Seattle, Washington facility for those individuals who are looking for a fully vertical solution. We also focus on expanding the size and the reach of the platform to find more consumers in all channels. In other words, right now in Canada, we believe we're scratching the surface. I know there are others out there who believe we're only scratching the surface as well too. Our strategy is about opening more doors. And again, we're in our very youthful stages here in Canada, and we believe that opening more doors is not only a mandate, but it's an achievable objective for us as well too. And in Canada, the other important factor is who's selling our product for us. And we truly believe that we have the best sales representatives in all of our channels. We've been very fortunate to recruit the best of the best. So we are continuously improving our efficiency, our productivity, and capacity to fulfill orders more efficiently. That is part of our objective. Okay, and just for an interesting note, over 75%, I believe we're close to 80% of all products that are shipped to Canadians come out of our Toronto distribution center. Next slide, please. Again, how we do it. Well, our customers, as mentioned, can draw from almost 2 million units here in Toronto and a total of 10 million units across North America. We ship our customer orders out the door the same day if the order is submitted by 5 o'clock. And again, I covered that before. It is a very, very important objective of ours and a great strategy that we had coming out of the gate. Our closest competitors are not able to do this. We have 20 sales representatives across the country. We've got just short of 2,000 active customers. And again, we're just starting. And out of those 2,000, it's also very important to note that almost 65% of them are in that corporate promotional channel. And with everything that we do, and we're going to be shipping over 1.2 million units of product this year. We've got 12 people working in our distribution center that is 77,000 square feet. And that's the beauty of the systems that we run and the great people that we have on board. And we're able to scale our sales up without having to add to our headcount, which from an operational standpoint is an extreme advantage for us. As mentioned, we are huge on sustainability, and that's something that we shout out to our customers. It's very important to them and their customers. And on the side there, you can see 2 industry awards that we won very early in our lifetime and recognized as the Supplier of the Year in Medium-Sized Enterprise for an association called the Promotional Products Professionals of Canada, which is the major corporate association here in Canada. Next slide, please. Again, how do we do it? You're going to see this word or the acronym MWPS, Market Winning Product Series. These are products that are created not just with one customer in mind, it's with all of our channels in business so that we can take advantage of volume and we can take advantage of cross-selling within all channels. Again, we strategically work with New Wave Group and specifically us here in Canada, we work with the U.S. to get well-sourced, well-priced fabric that we can spread amongst many styles so that one fabrication is not just used for one silhouette. It's used for many different styles across our offering. We create streamlined efficiencies from product development to sourcing to marketing and selling. And in Canada, our gross margin focus zeroes in on manufacturing with duty-free countries, which is extremely important to our business here. And another thing that we're doing is dual sourcing, which means that if we can't get our product all under one manufacturer to satisfy our North American needs, we're looking at grabbing the fabric from one supplier and then using perhaps a duty-free manufacturer in the U.S. and that's duty-free to the U.S. and a duty-free manufacturer like a Vietnam that is duty-free to Canada. So product that is being manufactured in 2 different locations with the idea of being duty-free to both countries. Next slide, please. An example of a market-winning product for us here in Canada is the Stockholm collection. It is a collection of hoodies and crews, all of the cotton fleece. It was launched in 2019. And in 2023, a staggering 25% of our overall sales have come from our Stockholm collection. So notably, it is obviously the biggest collection here in Canada, but it was also the biggest selling click series in North America. And to put that in perspective, we were not selling, and the U.S. was not selling any Stockholm in the U.S., a market of 330 million people. That second biggest selling rank was only for sales in Canada. Yet, from a North American standpoint, it led the charge. And because of that, needless to say, Stockholm is going to be introduced in the U.S. this coming year. Next slide, please. The Canadian market. Again, I think it's notable here that Canada is the second largest country in the world by land mass, with a highly urbanized population. We've got over 40 million people now. 70% of those people live within 160 kilometers of the southern border to the U.S. We've got ties to the UK and Europe, but also maintain a strong trade and cultural ties with the US. Two official languages in Canada, English, the mother tongue, and of course French as well too. And Canada's economy is the 9th largest in the world. We rely on natural resources. And another great note is that there is over 1.2 million small to medium-sized enterprise businesses in Canada. In other words, there's a lot of customers out there for what we do. The state of the Canadian economy today, I describe it as very uncertain. There have, going back into last year, there have been discussions around a mild recession. However, we don't really plan based on that. We plan based on how do we steal more market share? How do we grow our business? If there is an economic slowdown, how can we still achieve our growth? And we believe that opening new doors is something that not only do we strategize every year, but we raise the bar every year as well too to open new doors for us. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned a couple of channels of business. We really focus on 4 of them. I mentioned corporate. We also do team business, and team business is more associations. It is definitely at the amateur level as well too, whether it is soccer/football or hockey, which would be the main 2 sports within the Canadian marketplace. We also have our legacy golf business as well too, and our specialty retail business, which include big and tall, destination retail, touristy type of retails, and our business to consumer platforms, which is fulfillment business from our distribution center to end users using a different marketplace platform. Next slide, please. So if we look at the corporate channel of business, which, as mentioned, is our largest channel of business and will be the largest channel of business with the biggest opportunity, it's growing every year. And the corporate clothing market represents over 400 million annually here in Canada. At New Wave Group Canadian Distribution Inc., we've got just short of 4% market share based on our estimations. So we have a tremendous amount of room to grow. Another interesting fact is that British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec, and it's really the latter 2, Ontario and Quebec, account for over 80% of Canada's corporate distributors. And if you really take a look at the Toronto area, that is really the hub for English-speaking Canadians, corporate Canada. And then if you go across the border into Quebec, Montreal is really the French-speaking corporate corridor for Canadians. So that's really why you see Ontario and Quebec as the where most of the business is done. Our success has been the ability to bring a brand like Cutter & Buck and have the inventory levels needed to be successful. That's really important because there are many other brands who for years and years and years wanted a piece of the corporate business. However, they consistently disappoint distributors and end users with the lack of inventory. It's not part of their business model like it's a part of our business model. And pair that with the offering of our Click brand, and it's been a fantastic recipe for success here. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the Canadian team, it's really a dealer market, and that's a part of the business I get very excited about. We have a tremendous opportunity, specifically with the Click brand. There are thousands of sports associations across Canada that have the potential of bringing Click in for their players and coaches. And you'll see a vest on the screen. That's our Hudson's vest from Click. And I was happy to see when I was picking product for my daughter's hockey uniform last spring that this was one of the offerings. So that the logo you see on their chest there is from the Central York Panthers. Again, they're having an up and down season. If anybody's interested in the 15-year-old girls, nonetheless, it really is a culture here in Canada where these associations take a life of their own, where friendships are made, where team building happens. And at Click, we really have an opportunity to be a part of that story. Next slide, please. Cutter & Buck's legacy in Canada began with the golf market. This was a foundation that was laid in the late 90s and 2000s. And we have over 2,000 golf courses in Canada. And there's a great opportunity, not just for retail with Cutter & Buck. Our biggest growth engine is outfitting the golf staff, the operations team, with Click product that looks great and fits their budgets. So I would say that the biggest growth trajectory for our golf business has been outfitting many golf courses across the country with their staff needs. And we continue to really, really make sure our sales force continues to sell in that manner. Okay. We've also got great partners in specialty retail, and we had a really, really great success story this past year and a half. Hudson's Bay Company, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, retailer in Canada. We're on their online store, and we very quickly became one of Canada's favorite brands just based on sales and positioning on their platform. Next slide, please. So what does the future hold for us here in Canada? Well, I've mentioned there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of doors to open. There's a lot of growth still here. And one of the things that I truly believe is we've built the operational infrastructure that can host other New Wave Group concepts to the mix here. We really see ourselves in Canada as the core New Wave Group corporate hub for Canada. We've got the expertise, we've got the people, and we've got the infrastructure here to not only make Cutter & Buck and Click a success, but to potentially bring on other New Wave Group brands to offer to corporate Canada as well too. And if you go to the last slide, it's simply a thank you, and appreciate everybody's time. And if there are any questions, or I'm not sure there's any time for questions, I'm more than happy to stay on.
There is time for questions. So, any questions here? audience? Seems to be crystal clear, Mark.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. I wish everybody a great rest of the day and a great dinner as well, too.